All right, I am joined by Cleveland Guardians President of Baseball Operations, Chris Antonetti. Chris, obviously a monumental day today for this franchise with José Ramirez's contract extension. Can you just walk me through again the process of getting what really feels like in this landscape of Major League Baseball an unprecedented deal done?
Well, it all starts with Jose. Jose has been very consistent in what his goals and priorities were. If you go back to the last time we had a similar announcement in 2022, Jose laid out four priorities. He wanted to be a Cleveland Guardian for his entire career. He wanted his jersey retired here. He wanted to go into the Hall of Fame representing the Cleveland Guardians, and he wanted to win a World Series as the Cleveland Guardians. And he's been steadfast in each of those. And about a year ago, he kind of expressed a desire to possibly contemplate extending his term here further. And over the course of the last few weeks and few months, we've been able to make material progress on that, and we're ultimately able to reach an agreement.
This isn't the first time, obviously, Jose has signed an extension like this. What was different, maybe when he approached you the first time, as opposed to now and this extended commitment to the team?
Well, there were some parallels. Again, it all starts with Jose's desire to finish his career in Cleveland. And then, we've had and continue to have unprecedented support from our ownership group to be able to commit the resources to make that happen. And this contract's complicated. It took a lot of work to try to find a way to overlap, but ultimately we were able to get something done that secures Jose's future, but in a way that works for the organization.
A little bit more about how complicated things can be, it feels like, in this current landscape of Major League Baseball. How do you, an executive, navigate deals like this for a player like this?
Well, it starts with understanding interests. We need to first understand what's important to each individual player, and in this case, Jose, and then understand what our organizational interests are, which is centered around winning a World Series. And how do we bring those interests together in a way that makes sense for the player and for the organization? And again, that's what led us to this point in this structure with Jose.
Obviously, now the trucks are loading up here at Progressive Field. It's about that time to head over to Goodyear. What about this team stands out to you the most, besides obviously how young they are going into hopefully maybe even a third straight AL Central title?
That's the goal. We're hoping we can build on that foundation that we've established. We've continued to be a very and consistently competitive team, but we have not reached our ultimate goal, which is to win a World Series. But our goal is to how do we field a team that's capable of winning the American League Central again, and then taking that next step and continuing to progress in the playoffs and end with a World Series championship.
I feel like you guys have two groups of young guys. You have the old young guys and the young guys, the George Valeras, the CJ Cafuses that saw some action last year, then the Chase DeLauters who came up later, and maybe the Travis Pissanas of the world. What do you want to see out of them at Goodyear, and how does development for those two groups of younger guys kind of look differently into this season?
Yeah, well, the reality is we were not good enough offensively last year. We need to be better as a team. But for us to get better as a team offensively, we need each of those individuals to make the next step in their career and show progress. And it's been, by all accounts, a very productive offseason for the vast majority of that group. So we're excited to see them come into Goodyear and see the fruits of all the work that they've put in, and hopefully they can take that next step and fuel a very competitive season for us.
The last time we spoke, you spoke a little bit about that, making sure that this group is able to get the at-bats they need to develop, to flourish into potential, bigger stars than they already are. Why was it, again, so important to keep this young group together as is and make sure that they don't have, as you said, at-bats being taken away from them?
The only way they can show what they're capable of doing is to get the opportunity. And I think at this point, we're now providing that opportunity. So it's going to be up to each of them to make the most of it. And again, part of the reason why we have confidence in it is not just one or two players. We view there to be a collection of young players, both at the major league level and the upper levels of our farm system, that are in position to help us compete.
When you did approach this offseason, you've mentioned too that there were some guys that you maybe considered bringing in, but ultimately chose that this was the group that you wanted to stick with. What was some of the characteristics that you saw in potential people that you wanted to bring in that you ultimately felt that this group already has and could even grow in?
Well, the bulk of our position players are either switch hitters or left-handed hitters. So we were looking for a right-handed complement to possibly balance that group out a bit. And there were very few targets that fit that description for us, and we tried to pursue them. In the end, those guys made choices to go somewhere else, but in each case, it really wasn't financially driven. Their decisions really came to the point of they felt, at least what they communicated to us, is they felt they had more playing time opportunities somewhere else that we couldn't afford them because of the depth of talent we have at the major league level.
Is there anybody on this team in particular that you're really looking forward to seeing what leaps and bounds they can make over at Goodyear?
Oh, I'd hate to single anyone out because there are lots of guys capable of it, and the reality is we need more than one of those guys to take a meaningful step forward to make us the team we want to be. So hopefully it's more than one.
When you do have a guy like Jose, who really is the team veteran now, to be around these guys, just how much easier does it make that development process?
Yeah, Jose makes things so much easier in a lot of ways. It starts with what he's able to do on the field. He's a perennial MVP candidate. He does everything well. He's great in the batter's box, great on the bases, great defensively. And then, as I've shared, he sets the standard for work, preparation, commitment, passion. And so it's so helpful when your best players embodies all those attributes. So when a young player will ask, what's great look like? We can just point to Jose Ramirez and said, follow him.
Well, to end with this, just how great he is, have you guys already started designing what that statue is going to look like for him?
I think it's safe to say that will be in the future, but a statue is for when a player is done playing. Jose has a lot of baseball left ahead of him.
Will it or will it not have the helmet still on him sliding in?
That's a great question. So we'll have to see.
Awesome. Chris, thank you so much for taking the time. I appreciate it.
My pleasure, Mason. Thank you.